Hey, welcome to Storytime with Miss Smith. Today we're going to be reading Chameleons Are Cool by Martin Jenkins and illustrated by Sue Shields. Chameleons Are Cool by Martin Jenkins, illustrated by Sue Shields. Some lizards eat bananas. Chameleons don't. Some lizards walk upside down on the ceiling. Chameleons can't. There's even a lizard that glides from tree to tree. A chameleon certainly wouldn't do that. Gecko's toes are as sticky as Velcro. The flying lizard glides on wing-like flaps of skin. Iguanas don't just eat bananas. They love all sorts of fruit. But of all the different kinds of lizards, I still think chameleons are the best. Chameleons are cool. It's not that they're all that big. The biggest one is about the size of a rather small cat. It is called an Auslitz chameleon, and it lives in Madagascar. Whatever their size, chameleons usually get sick and die if kept as pets. They're much better left off in the wild. They can be really, really small, though. The smallest one could balance happily on your finger. It's called the dwarf bruxia, and it lives in Madagascar too. And I suppose you wouldn't exactly call many of them beautiful. Their skin is wrinkly and bumpy, and they've got big bulgy eyes, while lots of them have the most ridiculous noses. I think it's their noses I like best. Their mouths are pretty odd too. They turn down at the corners, which is why chameleons always look grumpy. Actually, they don't just look grumpy, they are grumpy. So if two chameleons bump into each other, things can get pretty lively. There's lots of puffing and hissing, and sometimes there's a real fight. A chameleon will fight only with the same kind of chameleon as himself. And that's when chameleons do what they're most famous for. They change color. Lots of people think chameleons change color to match their surroundings. They don't. They change colors when they're angry, or when they're too cold or too hot, or when they're sick. And there are some sorts of chameleons that hardly change color at all. As a rule, though, chameleons don't bump into each other all that often. I suppose it wouldn't be fair to call them lazy, but they certainly don't move any more than they have to, and when they do, it's almost always incredibly slowly. A chameleon's feet are shaped like pincers for holding on to branches tightly. Sometimes they stop completely in mid-step, as if they've forgotten what they're supposed to be doing. But if you look closely, you'll see they're actually carefully peeling about. Now, peering about is something chameleons are rather good at. That's because their eyes can move separately, unlike our eyes, which move together. Most of a chameleon's eyes is covered with skin, like the rest of its body. There are tiny peepholes in the middle of the chameleon's eyes that they see through. So while one eye is looking back over the chameleon's shoulder, the other one is scanning the branches ahead. As soon as it spots something tasty, the chameleon fixes both eyes on its prey and begins to creep forward, even more slowly than usual. Then it opens its mouth just a crack and thwop! Owl shoots this amazing long tongue with a sticky tip at the end, like a piece of well-chewed gum. Chameleons feed on all sorts of creepy crawlies. The big ones also eat small birds, mice, and even other chameleons. Then the tongue flies back, and there's a lot of chomping and chewing, and perhaps a few bites of insect legs fluttering on the ground. And after the chameleon just sits there for an hour or two doing nothing very much at all, looking quite exhausted, and still grumpy after all of that hard work. Most lizards gulp their food down without chewing it, but chameleons grind everything thoroughly. And there you have it. How could you possibly resist the size of a bad-tempered, color-changing, swivel-eyed, snail-paced, long-tongued sharpshooter? If chameleons aren't cool, then I don't know what is. The end. Thank you for watching.